And of course, we have Sam Dowdy, owner of S&D Plumbing. And it looks like one of the founders or the founder of the Craftsman Center for the Trades, and Dr. Lindsie Almquist, who is with the Craftsman Center, and she'll be kind of laying out um, the work that they do, why it looks the way it does. I think a lot of the things you've talked about probably went into, the way the program is structured. And so please help me welcome our next panel. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Raul.
Thank you very much. This is a great opportunity to be able to share. I love the dialogue that was going on when I came in. These panel guests were actually really great. I got back there and I kept going, yay, I love what I'm hearing. I've been a plumber. I've been working in the plumbing trade for 51 years. So it's a long time. They did fingerprint samples a few years back because I had to go, they added that to my master's license, and they could get 4 of the 10 fingers. So rest of them just wore off somewhere along the way. I think it's important to look at the perspective that he brought up with the trades. When I was a kid, I started working as a plumber's apprentice at 15 years old. And I worked with a local plumbing company, and he happened to be in the union. So I worked while I was in high school, and then the high school, I went to Galveston Ball High School, and they took they took me, and they realized they worked with my potential. And they molded their educational program to what we aspire now. Lindsie will be talking about it soon. And it's almost identical to the pre-apprenticeship program this we're doing today. And so my argument has been, since we've been trying to present this, is that this has been done. It's been done with the cooperation of school districts and employers, and it molds a employee in a very, very good way. I went into the union, and the union acknowledged my education at school, and they gave me half credit towards my plumbing license. So nowadays we match that to, if we can get kids into our pre-apprenticeship program, they graduate high school and they have half of their journeyman's license. So with plumbing nowadays, with me, it was just a journeyman and a master plumber. Now it's a tradesman plumber at 2 years, a journeyman plumber at 4 years, and then you can get your master's if you go through the apprenticeship programs. You can get it in 1 year. If not, it takes 8 years to get it. So the union accepted me, they gave me the credit, and then I started my business a year after I got my journeyman's license. So what we're presenting to you today has worked through the years. Although it's very important, and important that you brought up, the union has the model, but it's a model that can be transitioned throughout the communities when you bring up the education of what a true apprenticeship program is. So that's what we have to offer.
Thank you, Sam. Hi, I'm Dr. Almquist. I'm the proud president of Craftsman Center. I was in public education for 15 years, and my favorite job is I'm a recovering high school principal. Hi, my name is Lindsie. It was actually the best years of my life, actually better than elementary school, which most people will debate about that. But the reason it's near and dear to my heart is because kids, as you shared earlier, we may have a different perspective of the work ethic that they bring or whatever, but they have so much value. They will be creating things that we have never even thought of for a world we don't even know exists. That's empowering. And so I believe it's really important. When Sam and Sam's son, when I was recruited last year to help them with this idea, I realized it's really a support arm of CTE. So those of you that are understanding about schools and high schools and the ISDs, CTE is career technical education. And the state really hones in on college and career military readiness, which is a CCMR. That's the acronym. And I'm not acronyming you out right now, but it's really important for high schools because high school principals and the staff are really rated on those things. And a lot of them are those credentialing and or those certifications actually don't matter to the employers. And so if you have a high school that's getting rated by a certification for a track that if you were the employer, you would not care about, it becomes a very disconnected situation. And in fact, yesterday I was talking to an owner of a plumbing company. You may know him. His name's George. He's with PHCC. And he was talking about how the district that he was trying to work with needed him to do NCRR. NCER. I knew I was saying the wrong acronym. For those of you that know the acronym, you're going to have to tell us because I can't remember, but it's an acronym that essentially is for assessment for the specific plumbing track. Okay. Well, we don't actually need that. When you talk to employers right now that are plumbers in this area, they're not asking me to show them my cert. They know that I was in a program and they value that program. That's what they want. Right. And it goes back to what you said, Ron. It's about relationships, right? So if I know you and you have a good program and I'm the employer, I want your people. Because guess what? I know you're going to call me if there's a problem. We have students in a program up in Dallas where they come out of almost like a rehabilitation process. And one day the employee didn't show up to work. And you know what? I called their sponsor and said, is he like, I can't get a hold, is he okay? Like this is the heart work. Who said that earlier? Travis said that human beings are hardwired. So I of course was upset that he didn't show up to work, but I was more upset that there's a human that's MIA that I was worried about. And his sponsor, which is like the mentor model, right? That the panel talked about a minute ago. It's saying, hey, what's going on? Is he okay? Is the human okay? And what came about was that there were some skills that he didn't realize and he was worried and he kind of just reclused. That's normal. Trauma-informed decisions tell you that's normal. And so our goal is to wrap around that person and say, hey, let's walk through this. We'll figure it out. When you're feeling like this is an option you can call me. I'm more of an HR lovey person, compliance, yeah, show up, but really what's wrong? Why aren't you showing up? That's even more important. And I think a lot of the people today, in fact, every single one of them presented, really advocated for that. And so Raul, that says a lot about what you're trying to do and about the people in this room. And that's what we're here for. So I want to share with y'all our mission and vision. So we're really about Trade's mission to empower pathways and partnerships. So that's with each of you and to transform lives and grow communities. So I was born in a cinder block home, no air conditioning and heat in rural South Texas where no one cared about me. And that's how I felt for a really long time. My dad was an alcoholic. I remember in college, I got a scholarship to go to A&M. Whoop, for my undergrad. I went to UT for my doctorate. Okay, I switched over. Wah, wah. I know we all feel it. I just sensed it for a second. I'm like, okay, horns up. Okay. But I remember when I got that scholarship and my dad had called me for the last time he ever called me was to bail him out of jail. And I was like, I'm not doing it anymore. And so we can break the cycle. Nobody guided me, but there is those people along the lines that you have watched that are those people that we have to be for the generations that are coming up so that we help them. And that's really important to what Sam shared earlier and what I'm wanting you to know about our mission. Our vision is to aspire to lead a thriving community of partners. Again, to me, that is anybody and everybody. Ageism is a thing for the young and the elderly. I hear you. I agree with you. And I value your feedback. I personally experienced it on the other end. Like, why could you be a high school principal at 20 something? I'm like, well, what are you want to do it? Stand up, sister, do it. At some point, we all have to say, you add value. What is that value? And where can we put you to serve the work? Because we saw the data earlier from Rural Capital Workforce Solutions. What's the gap? Like almost 20,000 people from unemployment to what's needed. And so our rest of our vision is that we create economic success for all. So that's the belief that you're grabbing the person, you're pulling them up. That someone took me that was poverty driven, a little redheaded person that was out in nowhere, and I could do something with my life. Like that added value to me, and that it wasn't based on my dad's issues, right? And technology based at Trade Education. When we say that, plumbing has changed. Sam shared with me when he was teaching, when he originally started plumbing, you put liquid lead up in this metal thing and you climb up a ladder and then you have to go down. Whereas now some of the things in plumbing, we don't even know what's going to come. That's valuable. We need to honor the past and move the forward, right? And so that's really important to us. And our core values are excellence. We are faith-based. You can see the person, and this doesn't mean about an older person versus a younger person. This is about true, I see you and your value, and you're raising me up in that. And this is what really apprenticeship is about, and integrity and innovation. So Sam and Sam's son are the founders. I am the president. We have Keith, who is a business owner in the community in Rural Capital. Edgar, who used to be the provost of TSTC, he's now works as a consultant. And Susan Ficus, she has a company in Austin and she does wealth management. All believers of apprenticeships. We are nonprofit and we are an apprenticeship consortium. So it's a trade school model, but with an apprenticeship consortium. So we use partners very similar to what the lady shared earlier in regards to how they model their apprenticeship. So we work with the IBEW. We do work with actually a union right now for electrical. And then on the plumbing side, we have pre-apprentice model with Taylor and Thrall ISD. So House Bill 636 says a student can walk through a 4-year track and come out as a tradesman. And we help them with a master plumber. We are going to start advocating with the IBEW for that to be a certain type of track for electrical. We just have to be very careful because it is electrical, as is plumbing. These are what prevent us from being a third world country. So there's a lot of safety and technical pieces that are very critical that you don't just want to push a child through, especially children that went through COVID and they're academically and are immaturity behind. And not that that's their fault, it's just situational. Or maybe they're very wise and just may not know how to articulate it at the time.
I'll slide in a little caveat to this. I met with the powers that be with the licensing boards through the plumbing industry yesterday, and they're assuring me that the electrical and the air conditioning licenses will match the plumbing license within 6 months. So they're 6 months behind that. So it will build a little bit of continuity to what we're trying to do in the full apprenticeship programs for plumbing, electrical, and air conditioning.
So 16 years old, they could be working. As an apprentice, it's $15 to fill this document out and get a card. And then they learn under this journeyman, right? They learn under this plumber. And so this is really cool because these are pre-apprentices. So some of them are 16, but they may not have applied for their license, but they go ahead and go through our PHTC, Department of Labor approved curriculum. So we actually have a Department of Labor approved apprenticeship model. And what we do for our adults, we actually give, I wouldn't say a watered down because it's the actual curriculum, but it's a little smaller steps because we have a gap in math skills in curriculum development. I'm sorry, not in curriculum development, in schools because of COVID. I'm not blaming COVID on this, but it's just the reality. Math skills have to happen in plumbing. You have to know a lot of math and you have to pretty know like really quick shortcuts to it because you're out in the field and you're trying to figure this all out. And by the way, the architects do not give you what you need. I learned that the hard way when I was on the field with them. But this is our master plumber, Mr. L.C. Parker. He's been a blessing. He teaches our kids. That's them cutting a pipe. The reason that we want you to know this part is because we can help have conversations around what do we need to do to help our school districts because they want our support. Guys, they need our support. And we talked about earlier that everybody's at their max, right? Schools are at their max, partners are at their max, economic businesses and development are at their max. So if we just each did the 1%, have y'all ever read that book? 1%, right? We would all rise the tide and the boats would all go up. So if each of us what can we do with just 1%? A little bit different or help our school districts.
I'll add a caveat here to it as well. There's 3 curriculums in the United States for apprenticeship trade education. There's the union training, there's a PHCC, which is the non-union arm, which represents plumbing, heating, and cooling contractors of America. And they've been around for like 154 years, if I remember correctly. And then there's NCCER, which most of your like trade schools use those. There's 3. I chose PHCC because of the conversation that we talk about with the union comparison versus we're trying to gain awareness. I'm union trained, and there's gentlemen that I speak to in the union. And in doing this process, I had to negotiate with the union, and we're working with IBEW. So we're trying to blend in, and so we chose one of the 3, and that is the one that I chose.
And the NCCR is what the TEA, Texas Educational Agency, is saying the only certifications in the high school that matters. But what you will, like I shared earlier, what you will find is the plumbers all over the state. I've asked every single one I've ever talked to, and they're like, I don't even know what that is. That's the disconnect. And so we're trying to figure out that gap, right? There's always a gap that we can help.
And I have a fun story to add. The reason I chose this was a memory from my childhood. When I was introduced to the union in Galveston, Texas, welcome to local union. I think it was 211. Let me guess that it was that. This is the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Union. And by the way, we are a closed union and we do not like outsiders. So being that we're on an island, we don't like outsiders. So if you get a call from Mr. Steamboat, we all knew I learned who Steamboat was. Milton Fleming, he's our Sergeant of Arms. You will be speaking to our Sergeant of Arms. And that Sergeant of Arms has a lot of history on Galveston Island, but he was the big component of, gosh, I forget where I was going with this one here, but he was a big component into the influence of what we've done here in.
The
You
apprenticeship.
ever had one of those brain farts? I just had one.
You mean that we just need to learn who to build a partner with, and it's not that guy.
That's correct.
Okay.
Thank you very much for bailing me
I've
out on that
heard
one.
the Fleming story.
You know,
So
I've had a very interesting day because your conversations up at the table beforehand were they were similar to what I've been dealing with for the last 48 hours. We have a very young kids coming out, so I'm dealing with immaturity. And how do
We
you
talked
do
about
that? And then the immaturity to a 65-year-old man, you're just like, what? I'm going to be Milton Flemings and Steamboat and shove them through the wall. But I've got to remember that I have to do these. So I came to this thing completely disheveled today. So if I make a mistake, I'll do
Well,
it.
I think it's actually really applicable because we were talking about that earlier. They need you as their mentor. And that's something like he is the master responsible plumber. So in plumbing, you can't own a business without being a master responsible plumber. Well, there's a lot of them out there that are retiring. So if I'm the person trying to come up and you're the person, I got to follow you. And you're going to teach me all those hardwired work pieces that maybe 10 years ago, that's not how we presented things, but maybe we should have done it sooner. I talked about this. Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. The need for math, if anybody can't hear, sorry. You don't have to be sorry. I just wanted them to hear.
Geometry was my worst math.
Same.
So, right, give me replicable formulas. So I'm curious, how is plumbing then connected to STEM curriculum? Like, because
A lot because it's safe
Okay.
and healthy, health
So-
and safety of your community. I mean, without them in the hospitals,
Well, I meant
your
more like-
ICU patients wouldn't make it.
if my daughters are recruited into STEM programming,
Yes, ma'am.
are they going to learn that plumbing is a way to express those skills?
90% of the time, not. It all depends on the teacher that's in that
Okay.
class, but it goes more back to those. That's a great question. So am I going to be able to see this as an option if I'm in my STEM curriculum? Probably not. You're going to see more of your machinery, your Samsung, and you saw that in Paul Fletcher's and the other. Thank you, Tamara. You know what I'm talking about, the columns, right? So it's going to be more of those columns, which is why we're advocating. So we created it. We continued a trades day in Williamson County for students. 1,000 kids came, just working on, it's really about engagement. And like, what does this actually look like? Because no one told me in 8th grade what plumbing really was. I thought it, unfortunately, was the guy that fixed my toilet. That is not true. I mean, you could probably fix your toilet and you're not a plumber. Like, I'm not joking. You could YouTube that stuff now, So there's way more. You think about med gas. You think about individuals that are in ICU on their unfortunate not doing well bed. And those people are being protected and cared for by a plumber or an apprentice even from God knows when, right? Previous years. So I think going back to the math skills it's more about making sure that we get engagement. And until we have that true partnership, and Rural Capital Workforce Solutions is the one that we work with, and they're amazing. Paul Fletcher and Kelly Moreno are godsends. But the reason I say this is because they work with schools. And when you were asking earlier about the apprenticeship for Hutto ISD or the wondering about that, that's why I wanted. So I did email Raul and make sure that connection is there with Dr. Malone because it's happening. It's just everything wish we happened yesterday, but we're working on it. Yes, ma'am.
Regarding the STEM and why it's not there because I'm sorry. So sorry, Ro, I know better. The CTE, Career Technical Education, runs on a different track than what most people think of as STEM, which is generally considered college and career readiness, that piece. And what I'm hearing, and it's important and true, is that there's got to be like a
Yes.
merger. Like there's no more reason to keep these things separated so that kids have access to all of their opportunities that are presented to them. But that's the reason why is they're on two different tracks in the high school.
That's right.
And everybody doesn't push both tracks.
That's right. Okay, guys, so it is, I just realized this only because I want to make sure I value your time. It's 12:48. We have 2 minutes to finish. So what I'm going to share with you is this is our partnerships for our apprenticeship model. So our apprenticeship is a department labor apprenticeship. These are our employees. That guy's actually on 816 Congress, and they put a P trap. So you and I think of a P trap in our sink. This P trap was from me to you thing way down in the ground. That guy, he did it. And he's a young, amazing human that didn't have anybody helping him. And now he has paid class time. So we incentivize, y'all talked about that earlier. We pay them when to sit in class. They're paid their DOL pay. So that's $24.90 an hour as a second year apprentice. That's pretty good for your first or second year. And you will walk out ready to take your journeyman test. So you've got on the job, learn and earn experiences. So that's extremely important to us. And that's what we believe. We also believe in military partnerships. We currently have several. These are our military veterans in that picture right there that are in plumbing. Yes, we very much appreciate that partnership. We work with nonprofits. There's an example of Marge Tripp. She has Tripp Center in Taylor and how we can support what they're doing with students that, I love the word that Gels to Job said, justice involved. I do believe in social justice. And so these are our pictures of them in class. Again, on the job, that's OTJ training with a master instructor. So Mr. Parker is a master instructor. He's a master plumber, and we work with Workforce Solutions as our partner building strong programs for a better tomorrow. That's my slogan because that's how I feel every time I work with them. And then we're working with YMCAs and daycares. That's a need everywhere. Actually, Greater Taylor did a needs assessment as well as we have several from the Round Rock area, and daycare is always there, an issue. And we've already addressed some of that this morning. But we believe in second chances. So we currently have a quality control leader making over 6 figures, and he was in the penitentiary for a very long time, and he changed his life. So we believe that our faith says that you can have a second chance, and so can I. So why don't we do that for our staff? And we are nonprofit. We are a 501(c)(3). We work with Texas Workforce Commission. It's been since August 23, so we're new. We're babies in this role in terms of the Craftsman Center. But the cool thing is we're working on grants. Right now we're working on a really big grant with the Department of Labor and the federal government. We work on scholarships, donor advised funds. So if you know anybody selling land, they can help a nonprofit. Endowments, Giving Tuesday, and then donations. So what we are doing is we believe that we could create a dream to serve the trades. And we should honor, if it wasn't for someone that does a trade, we would not be in this building today. And so creating tomorrow's trade businesses for owners and operators and creating strong team members for companies, because economic development only supports what we do to help get it going, right? Like we have to help with that. And so assisting that age gap. So providing the true nonprofit where students are free tuition, so none of our students pay. Knock on wood. I work feverishly to make sure that we have vouchers from and grants. So it's something important to me that they don't have to pay and they get paid to sit in class on top of that, and leaving a path for generations to come. So this is our cell phone numbers. And if you need to